church is a little loud today, so I'm hoping that you can hear me. We'll see how it goes. And I'm here on Hermosa Beach. It's a beautiful day. It's very overcast, so close to the shore. A little inland, the clouds burn off though. And behind me, in the water, I think that there are dolphins. So I don't know if any of them will pop up during the video, but I hope that they do so you can see some of them. So what I want to talk to you about today is awakening from the three-dimensional illusion. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with being fully present in the third dimension, if third is what it is at all. I'm starting to be very skeptical of us being still in the third dimension because of the way time is moving. But anyway, so the way that I think it works is, you know how when you get in a fight with someone in an argument and you start arguing about a thing and then you start arguing about the argument and taking words that the person said and really being married to the word and to the thing that they said rather than the feeling behind it, which you might know is not exactly the words that they said, or they might be telling you, even though you might not be sure, that it's not exactly the words that they said. But in any event, rather than going with the thing that the words represent, you go with the words, and those become your medium, and then you kind of get tangled up in them. You can also see this in the legal arena of our society, how the justice system and the courts use words and these technicalities and these tiny rules to regulate this huge thing that is actually beyond words, and how the wrong word said and the wrong thing said can completely tangle you up in a mess, even though it might not have anything to do with what actually happened. So those are two ways of looking at it. The third way is if you look at the very ancient forms of writing through to like ending in cuneiform. For instance, take the word for head. The word for head used to be the silhouette of someone's head. It was a head, and anyone could look at head and see that's head. And then if you can look at the side-by-side comparisons, I believe that these are all in the 12th Planet by Charis. I think that's the first time I saw one of these charts. As they progressively made the different types of writing, as they came down from the oldest type, they got more and more abstract until 6 or 7 generations of writing style later, you have just a few lines and a couple dots, which looks actually nothing like the original word for head unless you look at the successive alterations, and then you can see that it came from the same thing. But by the time you get, I don't know, 1,000 years later, you would not be able to know that that was the word for head unless you had training telling you that it is. And how we've done that with education as well in our culture. So what ends up happening is people get really stuck in the forms they create to hold the things that are. And the forms that they create become prison rather than tool. And we've done that with the third dimension. As far as dimensions go, the physical material world is actually the least real of any of them, which is how you can pop in and out of it all the time. When you have a thought that takes you somewhere else, you're not in the third dimension as much anymore. You kind of go away, your eyes film over, and you're gone. When you dream, you're not really here. When you're really tired, you're not really here. When you're very intoxicated, you're not really here. And things change here constantly. You go from one room to another, you're in a completely different spot. You go from one city to another, you're in a totally different dimension. And so, this, by the way, is judging by what you see, what you feel, what you hear, your 5 senses. And so rather than using 5 senses as the tools that they're supposed to be, like writing or words, we've made them the thing, like people do in arguments in the legal system and with the writing. So that's how we're stuck in the third dimension. And the truth is, we always exist in all these different dimensions. And we've just forgotten that. And especially with things like manifestation, people think that it's not really real unless it's here. And that's really putting a very small stamp on real, because you have to make it in the etheric first and then bring it here. You can't just expect it to pop in unless it's something you've already been making, which is how coincidences happen, but also negative coincidences. So the way to start popping out of this is to start accessing your emotional state, because that's the most important piece of intuitive ability that needs to be developed now. everybody has intuitive abilities. It's not like intuitive abilities, that's funny. Sometimes it can be both. It's not like some people have them and others don't. But what it is like is that no one has really trained their children that I know of in a way that's accurate. And from the time that you train them to do other things to function in the world, like use a fork or speak your language or walk around, you know. It's as if you told people that there's no such thing as taste buds. You can't taste anything. You can feel texture and heat and cold, but when you eat food, you can't taste it. And say someone hated, I don't know, red beets, okay? And they didn't like the red beets because of the very earthy taste of the red beets. And they said, 25 years old, as they're given beets on a plate, they say, I'm just not big into them. I don't really know why, because they've been told for their 25 years of life that there's no such thing as taste. I don't really know why I don't like them. I just don't like them. It's just a feeling I have. Well, intuitive ability is kind of like that. We all have it. It's always there. It's what your emotions do. It's how when you meet someone, you either know that you should be connected with them, know that you shouldn't, or feel indifferent. It's how everybody has those little synchronicity moments and intuitive moments that are there, and it's where we are and what we're doing. But you can see visions all day long, but if you don't have the emotional barometer in place, and if your emotions aren't regulated and fine-tuned to be able to tell what's going on, then your visions will be all skewed and they won't be as accurate because you won't know how to interpret them. Same thing with dreaming. If you're trying to interpret dreams and you don't have a handle on how your emotions are in waking life, because emotions are so magnified in dreams, and if you look at those same emotions that you feel in waking life, you can tell what the symbolism of the dream is without needing to really go into analysis encyclopedias, because they're not really that accurate for individuals anyway. Then you have a more clear view. So the emotional thing is the thing to get, and the way to start doing that is just to notice your emotions. You don't have to do anything about them to begin with, but just noticing them, and that's actually a pretty hard thing. I mean, I've already said that I'm someone who's blocked out my emotions, so noticing how I feel is actually kind of challenging. It's getting easier now that I've been trying to do it for a while, but just walking along and being like, oh, I don't feel anything. That's not true. You always feel something. And what often people will do and ask how they feel, they'll start talking about what they're thinking about. But it's not what you're thinking about, that's a different spot. What you're feeling is down here. And so to check in with that and see, and then after you check in with it and see, you can start to fine tune and see what your emotions are about different things in life. And then if you're trying to develop your intuitive ability, or if you're trying to be a really amazing creator and manifest all this stuff, or if you're trying to be able to see into different dimensions and live in all of them rather than just be stuck in this third dimensional words on page type of thing, then emotions are the way to begin. So that's all I have for you today. News, speaking of intuitive development, I think I'm going to start teaching an intuitive development web class. So stay tuned for that. My new website is up. It's charismelina.com. I'll put the link down below in the information section. And it's Friday. It's beautiful. I have lots of more things to share with you. I'm not even kidding. Things have been crazy lately, and I've been getting the most fun downloads and interesting things happening. And for all of you guys out there watching my videos, I've had so many people email me and tell me what's going on with them, especially difficult emotional stuff. It's crazy. Everybody's going through the same thing right now. And so know that you're really not alone, and that you are a major player in this whole beautiful film that we're doing right now. So have a great day. Take care. Go in peace. And I will see you again soon.